Welcome to day 5 of the Food Freedom course. Oh my God, you made it all the way to here. And I'm so excited that you made it all the way to here. You joining in and you watching this live or even on the replay makes a big decision that you are actually taking a step forward. And if you're still watching this here, that means everything else that I shared from day 1 up to today is resonating with you and something inside of you saying, you know what, there's something different here. And it is very different from probably a lot of things that you've heard out there in terms of helping you create that food freedom to feel better in your body, to feel better with the clothing that you have, to feel better with the food around your house, really to create freedom in all sense of the word. But if this is the first time you're watching this, remember, my name is Dina Merhbi. I'm actually a dietitian, NLP practitioner, which is a neuro-linguistic programming practitioner. I help people rewire their mindset to create lasting change. And as well, I'm a yoga and mindfulness teacher. And the aim behind this course is that for the past 20 years, I've been coaching clients to help them create this food freedom because I myself struggled with this. And I really wanted to make sure that I can create something free to help people gain clarity of what's actually not working for them. Because whenever I look at what other people are doing, there's so many missing pieces. I wanted to bring all the pieces here for you. And today we're on day 5. But let me recap a little bit, short and sweet, to help you understand why we are getting to where we are today, which is day 5. Day 1, we talked about mindset, your vision. If you don't know where you're going, you won't actually be able to fuel the fire to keep going with what we're talking about. Day 2, we talked about the physical aspects of why you're probably stress eating, binge eating, compulsive eating. And we want to make sure that you create inner calmness because this is actually one of the easiest steps, if I can say that, to help create the biggest change regarding your cravings. Because if there's less cravings, less binge eating, it's a whole cycle there. But also there's many reasons why you're probably physically going for that food and it's not a lack of motivation or willpower. There's so many other things there. So make sure you watch that again. Day 3, we talked about the emotional triggers. We are emotional beings. And it is normal that when we're emotional, we go for coping mechanisms, but maybe yours is only food, or maybe it's alcohol, online shopping, binge watching your favorite TV shows. And if you feel like something is kind of keeping you like blah and stuck and not feeling good, our aim is to create a new pathway, a new bridge to help you cope with it in a different way. Again, we're not banning food. If you feel like eating ice cream when you're down, it's okay. We want to make sure we have different ways to cope because you'll see, depending on the mood we have or the emotion we have, sometimes we need different ways to actually help us self-soothe in a certain way. And day 4, we talked about the big thing that very often we're missing to help us create this food freedom, which is shifting our self-sabotaging thoughts. We have so many thoughts in our brain, and very often most of them are actually negative thoughts. And the negative thoughts, if you look back into day 4, I talked about how the scale, we don't always see it as a positive thing when we step on it, even if the weight is stable, even if we lose the weight. Like, there's always a negative thought coming in. I want you to watch that again because self-sabotaging thoughts is one of the big things that keeps people stuck. So you're able to create progress, you're feeling better, you're eating better, you're creating that new bridges for your coping mechanisms. But then you still have the same negative thinking bringing you back to the starting point because your brain and your body is familiar with the starting point, even if you're not happy with the starting point. And today, it is an important one. It kind of creates like we close up a little bit the loop. Of course, there's many different topics that we can talk about because there's a personalization regarding as well, create food freedom for you. But what I want to talk about today is really looking at your environment, looking at your triggers. We very often, when we're struggling with food, we're struggling with our weight, we put all the blame on ourselves. Like, I should be stronger, I should be smarter, I should be more motivated. Maybe you've created such amazing success in an area of your life and you're kind of ashamed of the struggle that you have. And that was me. Like, I was a dietitian struggling with eating, helping people with their eating. It was a very weird way for me when I got into this work. But then when I saw the people struggling like me, I was like, wow, I'm not alone. So I actually went above and beyond and actually found the system that I'm sharing with you here today. But here is the thing, we very often blame ourselves for not being able to create a change. I'm lazy, I'm not motivated, I have a slow metabolism, I'm addicted to food, I like sugar, like there's all these things. So again, we're doing everything like it's our fault. Here is the thing. There are certain things that we might be doing, like under eating, dieting. There are certain actions, but it has nothing to do with who you are, what value, what your worth is. Like, it has nothing to do with that. That's why today we need to look at the environmental triggers. There's a lot of environmental triggers that you might not be aware of that is keeping you in that loop. So sometimes the environmental triggers, I talk about them with my clients in the beginning of the work that we do together, because when they pop up a little bit too soon in the beginning, I need to talk about them because I want to make the process as smooth as possible. But there's a lot of triggers that are happening around. So I'm going to give you, I can say 3 of some of the biggest triggers. There's many more that we dive in more in terms of my Let's Eat course. Or if you want to look at coaching as well, we see what's personal to you. What are your triggers? But I've seen like there's 3 common triggers that I've seen with myself when I was struggling with it, but as well with my clients. So here are the top 3. Number 1, I talked about that on day 4, the scale. There is no need to weigh yourself, because what's happening is that you're putting that number on a pedestal, saying if you're doing a good job or a bad job. Food freedom is all about less cravings, less binge eating, compulsive eating, having food at home and actually forgetting about it, being able to go to an event, have a slice of cake, and you're like, ma, it's okay. And you don't feel like you have to like, might as well, let me eat everything possible. I've got off my diet. I'll start again on Monday. But the weight is a big thing. Because again, you're letting this external number dictate your worth. Letting this number that probably you're weighing yourself first thing in the morning impact the rest of your day. And when you let this number impact the rest of your day, it actually keeps you in this loop of not sticking through, for example, what we're talking about in this course, or maybe something that's actually working, but you're not giving it enough time to really it becoming a habit in who you are. We're letting this external thing like the scale tell you if you're good or bad. And again, as women as well, we can fluctuate in weight for so many reasons. Getting on that scale every single morning is a big, big trigger. So one of the things is, are you ready to break up with the scale? The second trigger that is very, very, very common is having a full wardrobe and not everything actually fitting who you are right here, right now. To create an amazing step forward of saying, you know what, I want to gain food freedom. I want to feel better in my body. I want to feel better with the food around me. I'm done with this whole dieting thing. I really want to just feel good. It's very hard to feel good when you get into your wardrobe, you put something on and you're like, oh my God, it's so tight. It's the same thing as the scale. Your brain goes into negative thinking. It makes you feel exhausted already, down, depressed. When we talk about emotional triggers, you're depressed, you're going to eat. Or you might be like, oh my God, no, I'm done with this. I want these pants to fit. You go on a diet. Then what happens with the diet? You go back into overeating. You're back in that like yo-yo dieting and binge eating cycle. So the wardrobe is a big, big thing. I do this, I think the first month I work with my clients, and even the program Let's Eat, there's a whole training on that of cleaning up your wardrobe, how to do it, but as well the process. So emotionally, we're doing it for the greater good for ourselves. Because if you look at your wardrobe and you don't know what fits, what doesn't fit, what is the anxiety you have when you wake up in the morning and you don't know what to wear? I want you to be able to wake up in the morning, know exactly what fits, what you feel good in. So that's going to dictate your day. Imagine you wake up in the morning and whatever's in your wardrobe fits. You don't have to like everything is the same. Your weight is the same. Everything is the same. But when you go on the wardrobe, everything fits. How calming is that? Like, think about it. You wake up in the morning, you get ready. There's no scale. Whatever you take, your pants, your dress, your skirt, your top, everything fits, and you just continue with your day. Isn't that such a positive way to start the day? Instead of getting on the scale, oh my God, what happened? Going on your wardrobe, oh my God, nothing fits. Then the negative thing, oh my God, nothing fit. I'm going to look horrible. What is this? Then you're like, you get to work and like, oh, like already in a bad mood. Which kind of personality is going to actually be more optimistic, more positive, to create changes, to keep eating regularly, to keep focusing on their big vision? The person's like starting off on a right track, which is everything fits, everything's fine, I continue on my plan. Or the person that starts and like already everything is shit. Why even try? It's the end of the world. God, I remember those mornings. Oh, I remember those mornings. Or even going to an event. I'm like, oh my God, Oh, I have something that fits today. It's like we're in denial. We're like, no, if I don't look at it, it's fine. It's gonna fit one day. But there's a cleanup process, and your wardrobe is one of the biggest triggers. The same thing as the scale. Big trigger. The third trigger, which pros and cons, depends how you found me. Maybe you found me on this, but social media. There's so much in social media that is so wrong, that is very triggering. You might actually go through your social media and maybe certain things might be uplifting. Oh, look what she's doing. Look how she's looking. Look at the before and after. I'm going to get into it. So I understand that process. But then you're comparing yourself with somebody that you have no idea, number one, if they're real. Number two, if they're actually doing what they said they did. Number three, they're photoshopped. I actually saw a show once that a lot of these before and afters are actually just photoshopped and actors coming in. Heartbreaking, because this is what is selling. You see the before and after, and like, oh, this is amazing. But the other thing as well is that when you're trying to create a shift, remember we talked about day 4, self-sabotaging thoughts. You want to be able to shift the way that you're seeing things, to be able to see things clearly that are positive for you. But if you keep scrolling and you think all these people win, great, they're looking great, they're looking happy in the beach, in the bikini, in the relationship. How does that make you feel when you kind of close up social media and you're looking at your life and you're like, oh, it doesn't really make you feel good, because again, you're comparing yourself with something that is not even real, unrealistic, photoshopped. Because, just side note, people only share upgraded, photoshopped images or stories of their life. Nobody shares all the nitty gritty. Like, nobody does. So imagine if you're comparing yourself with that, you're looking at that. It makes you start thinking like, it's not going to work for you. You're not going to succeed in it. Why them, not me? Again, the self-sabotaging thoughts come in. You're like, well, like you tried before, you weren't able to, you're not meant for this, you have a slow metabolism, you have to just quit, you're not meant to have this, you're not meant to have that. Like, that thinking process can really, really take you down like a bad, rabbit hole tunnel. This is why social media is one of the main triggers. We can have amazing information there, but you have to pick who to follow. One of the first things when I start working with my clients, I tell them they need to unsubscribe from everything on social media. Because it's very hard to, for example, listening in one ear to what I might be telling them, but then in social media, there's like 1,000 people talking to them in the other ear. It's very hard to listen, to reason in a certain way, really following up with a professional that's worked with this, who understands this, to 1,000 things happening and you have no idea if it's real or not. We lose our path, we lose our track. This is why when you're going through this process, and I talked about this before, slow and steady wins the race. And simplicity is the key. When you want to create a change with one thing, with one coach, with one way of working, you have to just focus on that. You have to unfollow, close up everything else. Everything. Because again, it's very hard to listen to this one new voice when every day you're scrolling and you have like these 1,000 social media accounts kind of like, crashing down on you. Very hard. Give yourself a break. Get everything quiet to be able to really do the right work that is personalized to you, and that is real to you. Because social media, 99.9% of it, photoshopped, unreal, fake stories. It's sad. It's not regulated. That's where you have to be careful. So it's always understanding that when you find something that you like, and if you like this Fight Freedom course, make sure you follow me over on Instagram, on TikTok, follow also my YouTube channels, but make sure that you always follow through with the same person so that you're always kind of like in that zone, in that energy, like really listening to it and literally let it like brainwash you in a certain way, but because you resonate with it. You should not feel forced. You should not think, oh my God, this is going to fix me. This is an overnight solution. It isn't. Nothing is going to fix you. You need to make the decision. Like for today, we talked environmental triggers. You need to make the decision of what is the life that you want, that we locked in day 1, which is the vision of what you want, and doing the right actions, the right aligned actions, the right health actions to get you to where you want to go. And this is why we look in terms of day 5, the triggers. The triggers are the biggest things that feed the self-sabotaging thoughts, that get you back in terms of the emotional triggers, that gets you back in terms of like getting your body back in first world malnourishment. And then you completely lost your vision because you're like, nothing's going to work for me. Nothing. It's done. I'm not worth it. It's not going to work for me. You see like how we go all the way back. So the triggers, what we talked about today, can be actually your first step. Bye-bye scale. Bye-bye clothing that doesn't fit you right now. And bye-bye any social media account. Any that promotes weight loss, dieting, shakes, high intensity training. Pick 1 or 2 that are very similar and then follow through with the same type of coach. And here's the thing. Whenever I work with my clients, it's saying like, are we ready to do this long term? Are you ready to always be a bit in my energy? Let it be in private coaching, in the groups, follow me on Instagram. Always make sure that we're there because I keep progressing in my practice and I keep sharing all these knowledge with my clients. But as well, it keeps you kind of in that same energy of shifting and staying on track to where you want to go. I did not stop my binge eating overnight. I didn't. Because nobody can. There's no 21-day cure to food freedom. There isn't even like a 5 weeks, 6 weeks. There's a way, there's a system, there's a process to follow, but it's being consistent in it every single week until it becomes who you are. An event happens, it triggers you, you might be craving, binge eating, you feel struggling again with food. You're like, okay, it's fine. Let's get back on the program. Repeat, repeat, repeat until it becomes your new you. This is really it. Until you actually shifted your personality so that it doesn't actually triggers. You're like, oh, something triggers you, but you don't react the same way. But this takes consistency in following something that you feel is resonating with you. It might be scary a little bit because there is change involved. But the more that you stay consistent and disciplined and determined with the same approach over and over, everything shifts. If you change approach every 2 to 3 months, you're going to keep struggling. And I've seen that a lot of people keep changing. Follow one for the long term. Follow one that you're like, okay, this is nice. This resonates with me, and follow through with it. If I could say that to me when I was 20 years old, I would have saved myself a lot of time, a lot of hurt, because life is short. And when you follow through with the same system, the same way of working, even the same coach, you save time instead of trying to learn something new and change your whole lifestyle. Time is something that you can never get back. So let's make the best out of it, to not do the wishy-washy halfway thing, follow through with whatever you're putting in, but really follow through with something that actually helps regarding the mindset, the nutrition, the emotional factors, self-sabotaging thought, and as well, there's so many emotional triggers, but I really talked about the 3 main triggers today that maybe you can actually start working on as soon as you're done with this training. So this is it. We followed the 5-day course. I shared with you really like big bucket list that really I want you to kind of review, re-listen, see which ones are resonating with you the most. Yes, usually we follow through one to the other because that's the way I've seen it actually work the best. But again, you can pick a little bit of each by really following through and being consistent, not for 7 days, consistent for the long term. And you're going to see that shift happening. However, if you feel like you like this system, but you want something a little bit more, actually dive deeper in terms of all this, the examples, the homework, the plans, the snacks, self-sabotaging like meditations. Like there's so many things I actually have inside my program called Let's Eat, which is Let's Energize, Activate, and Transform. I really dive more into that. So that can be maybe your next step if you're called to it. It's a self-study program. And if you want to go a little deeper and you want to have more personalization because time is of the essence and you really want to make sure you are supported by somebody to guide you through maybe something more personal to better understand what is maybe your next step, all you have to do is message me, or you can apply right below to see if private coaching is meant for you. But before I let you go, I want to tell you I am so proud of you. I am so proud of you for being here. I am so proud of you for showing up. I'm so proud of you to being open, saying there's actually a different way to gain food freedom, not by restricting, by actually allowing ourselves to connect to our body and start erasing what we've been creating and building up new things. So I'm really so proud of you. Just doing this and doing this 5-day course is more than what most people would actually do. And if you follow through and you're here till the end, you have to give yourself a big pat on the back, or even give yourself a reward, not food oriented, by giving yourself a reward. Buy yourself a book that you enjoy. Get yourself some earrings. Get yourself like a new shirt, the kind of something that fits nicely right now, and then you can put in your wardrobe. Give yourself a positive reward, positive reinforcement for this amazing work that you did following through up to day 5. So proud of you. And again, remember, follow me over on Instagram, on Facebook, follow me over on YouTube. I always bring new information to help you see things differently. Because yes, the mind is where the work is. That's why the NLP coaching is so transformative for a lot of the work and a lot of clients that I work with. And again, if you have any questions, I'm really just a message away. So can't wait to see you, hopefully in my program, even in coaching. If not, join me on Instagram. Tell me hello right there. I always love to connect with my community, or even on TikTok. I'll let you choose your choice of how you want to stay connected. On that note, I wish you a beautiful and a balanced day. Dina Merhbi here, and I'll catch you in the next training.